And welcome to the Lapani Technologies podcast. I am your host, Brandon Lapani. And for those of you that want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at Lapani Tech. You can follow us on our blog at allamericancomputerrepair.com/blog. And as well as you can follow us at Skype or talk to us on Skype, again at Lapani Tech. So we haven't done one of these in a while, and I'm very sorry for the people that do listen to them because, it is tough for us. We do own a business, so to try to do these as much as we can can be a little difficult at times, but we do try to get at least one out, two a month out. So, but again, I want to thank everybody for listening. And if anybody's interested, you can check out our eBay store. There's a link on our site. If you click on eBay and shop with us online, it'll bring you to the eBay store. Either one will bring you there, but we also have an eBay store online if anybody's interested in any merchandise or anything like that from our company. We have an online store now. We're very proud of it. And, it's a big step. Everybody's shopping online nowadays. It's just the way things are, and it's great to be a part of it, and great to have people that use us. So, I wanted to mention that if anybody's interested, feel free to shop online with us. I also want to bring up, like I said, we only been doing one or two of these a month, but we are looking for advertisers for our blog as well as our monthly podcast. As we get advertisers, obviously we'll be doing more podcasts, but I just wanted to bring that up as well. So anyway, on to the technology news that we feel is important here at the All-American or the Lapani Technologies podcast. Somebody asked me the other day, why is the Lapani Technologies podcast on the All-American Computer Repair blog? The reason was we had like 3 or 4 different sites, and the podcast would actually get syndicated over a few different websites. So we decided to put it in one place. The allamericancomputerrepair.com blog has been our home for many years, so we figured we just put it there. But the parent company of All American is Lapani Technologies, so that's kind of how it just stuck. But Lapani Technologies, is our our big company. It's our security company, and if anybody needs services, like I said, you can go on lapanitechnologies.com and feel free to look us up and get information if you want to hire us. But on to the technology news. That's why everybody's listening, obviously. But got to get the plugs in there. One thing I wanted to bring up, we have not blogged about it yet, but one of the things we are looking at is the this week vulnerability was found in the iPhone and the Instagram app, which is a little bit interesting. You don't hear too many vulnerabilities in the iPhone products, but there is a vulnerability in there. Apparently, the way it sends the data, it sends it unencrypted, surprisingly enough. Details of it, I'll just read these off to you. The Instagram app communicates with the Instagram API via HTTP and not HTTPS connections. The problem with this is highly sensitive activities such as login, editing profile data are sent through a secure channel. However, the other requests are sent through in plain text without a signature. So those requests could predominantly be exploited by an attacker connected to the same LAN as the victim's iPhone. So the suggested fix: use HTTPS for all API requests that you can contain sensitive data such as photo URLs, and make sure the body of your signature is not unencrypted. So that's what I started off with as far as the podcast goes. Very interesting though to hear that Apple vulnerability like that. I'm sure Instagram will be patching it shortly. I can't imagine Apple's going to let them leave something like that open for quite a while. So that's one thing I'm sure is going to be, quite maybe patched quickly. One thing I want to bring up too, we haven't really followed the story too much on the blog either. I know a lot of people that listen do read the blog, but we haven't followed too much the Mcafee situation. Apparently, he was arrested just recently and actually had a heart attack, and now he's looking to be deported back to the U.S. So I think he's gonna face up to the music. But boy, that was quite a situation. He was on the run there for a while, blogging. Had enough blog posts to last a couple of years or whatever, and he was offered a $35,000 reward for anybody that found the person that was responsible for the death. So kind of an interesting situation there. I'd be curious to see what he's going to do as far as when he gets back here. What kind of he's going to be? He's been on the run for how long now? So The other thing too we wanted to talk to you about is the Apple apparently announced the other day that they're going to be moving their iMac manufacturing back to the U.S. and being a small business ourselves. Um, it's great to see companies moving their production back and employing American workers rather than foreign workers. So that is really really nice to see Apple doing that. The one thing I was curious is if Apple was doing this in response. I remember in February of 2011, they had a meeting with the president. I don't know if anybody remembers this. All the big Silicon Valley people met the president. Now, I was wondering if this is in response to that. Maybe this was something they did to try to help, stimulate the economy after talking to President Obama. So Apple hasn't said yes or no to that. That's just something that's in the back of my mind. But it'd be neat to see if it was in response to that. The other thing is too, speaking of security, by the way, is Google actually is getting rid of their free Google Apps for Business. If you were an existing member, you're okay still, but it's kind of interesting for Google to get they're grant, like if you've been using the free version, you're grandfathered in. But any new people, it's gonna be $50 a year, which if you really think about it, I mean $50 a year really isn't that bad. If you think about it, if you had a most hosting is $10 a month. So, the only thing that they don't do is web hosting, but you could forward it to another, if you're hosting it yourself, it wouldn't be that bad because you could just point your DNS record to your external IP. But that's one thing bad about it. You get your email, apps, sites. Which the sites is pretty cool. It's like a much simpler version of SharePoint. And anybody that's listened knows I'm not a huge fan of Microsoft SharePoint product, so that's another thing too. So it's a great, I think it's a great service, and for $50 a month, for $5 for that's nothing when you really look at what web hosting and all that could cost you. So, but if you do have it free, you're still gonna be free, but from now on you're gonna have to pay for it. So. The other thing too that I was reading about this as well recently is Microsoft really struggling to get to get their product the Surface over 1 million units. One thing I've noticed, not a lot of people in a jump to go to Windows 8. I know we here are still on 7. We have some Macs here, but mostly a lot of Windows machines and Linux as well, by the way. But one of the things that a lot of people have noticed, myself as well, is that a lot of people aren't in a big jump off of 7. 7's like the new kind of XP, but now they're not a lot of people are jumping to it, and I think Microsoft definitely got some negative press from Oprah, talking how much she loves her Microsoft Surface from her iPad. So it's curious to see what Microsoft's going to do to help push their product, and I think too Microsoft's biggest problem is they're out of the gate so late compared to Apple or or Google or Amazon or any of the big ones. They're really out of the gate really late. So for them they definitely have some work ahead of them, but they're having a struggling even getting 1 million units, which is kind of sad if you think about it, especially Christmas time coming up here. That's usually when the majority of people's purchases get made. So interesting to see what they do as far as getting their products more sales and all that. I'm curious to see what they do. Speaking of CEOs that possibly haven't done such a great job, that Netflix CEO, that whole thing with the SEC investigating Netflix CEO Reed Hastings for over Facebook posts, apparently released numbers and then released different numbers on Facebook, so he's under a little bit of investigation. But on a plus note, though, he definitely did a good thing with the whole Disney using Netflix for exclusive film distribution. That's definitely going to help Netflix. It's a great service, but they are competing now with Amazon with $75 a year. You get Amazon Prime, which is the 2-day shipping. You get the book, one free book a year, and the movies. So they're struggling. They're struggling. They're in a very competitive market right now. You're very curious to see what they what they do. And the other thing too, since we are on the topic of pricing and competitiveness, reading recently, Microsoft's going to be upping their prices. So anybody that's coming up to the end of their contract, as far as their Microsoft licensing contract, I would suggest extending it if you could. I know they're saying that the Cal pricing is going to go up 15%. The SharePoint pricing is going to go up 38%. Link 2013, which is out, is going to go up. They're saying it's up 400%. And Project Server as well is going to go up 21%. So if you're in a Microsoft agreement, I suggest you renew it or extend it, as long as possible. But Microsoft is struggling with this whole Windows 8 thing. And now they're hiking the prices to make up for it. And I think Microsoft's biggest problem is they're just like Apple. Google and Amazon have a different mind frame as far as their products go. They can, they make money on you using the product, whereas Apple and Microsoft make money on selling it to you. I'm sure, Apple makes money on you buying apps and stuff like that as well. I mean, I'm sure they are. But, I think, they're relying, definitely them and Microsoft are relying on selling the product. So, the other thing is speaking of Apple, the Apple Maps developer was fired over this whole thing with Apple Maps. To me that's just collateral damage. Just Apple showing they're still as strong without Jobs as they were. Hey, they make mistakes. If we all remember Steve Jobs with the antenna situation and the bumper, giving everybody a free bumper, and then remember too with the black, he showed that BlackBerry and all them had the same issues, and I think that's Cook and the company itself trying to really trying to compete. So, I think that it's one of those things where people make mistakes, stuff happens, and you just kind of pick up where you left off. So, one of the other articles that I was reading too is that Windows XP has dropped below 40% as far as market share. But I think that's pretty interesting to see that XP still at 40% market share, or around that 40% market share, where Windows 8 is barely at 1%. So that's a little bit neat. The other thing that was neat too is that this whole thing with Facebook and Zynga splitting apart. I don't want to say splitting apart, but they're not gonna. Zynga's not gonna have such an exclusive deal. I think it's gonna hurt Facebook and Zynga as well. Zynga being a company that relies on people knowing about their games. I think Facebook was a good platform for them. Facebook, I think, a lot of people said most people, Google obviously gets a lot more hits than they do, but Facebook, they say people go there and stay there, and it's probably mostly because of the games. I think losing the games are going to definitely hurt them. So as far as Facebook and Zynga, I don't know how I question that decision from a business perspective, but it is their decision. But I'm curious to see. I know Zynga wants to move into the independent gaming market and start their own gaming site, but I don't know. I'm a little bit. I don't know if this could be good for them or not. So we'll have to see and go from there. See what their plan is. But I can't imagine that being a good move for either or. One thing I did want to bring up is the whole Dell has an Ultrabook out now that comes exclusive with Ubuntu. I mean, as I'm a big Linux enthusiast, it's not it's not definitely not a bad product. It's got an i7 processor. The Ubuntu 12.4 OS, 8 gigs of RAM. 256 solid state drive, Intel HD 4000. It's definitely a good product. If you're interested in a new laptop and you're a Linux person like myself, that might be an option for you. The new iMac obviously out on sale, 21.5-inch screen. There's also a 27-inch screen as well. 8 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte drive. The i5 processor. Definitely a nice product. So. Again, if anybody's interested in those products, you could, look into them as well. I believe the Dell laptops is starting at about Just looking through the notes here, about $1,549. The Apple iPad, the 21.5-inch model is going for about $1,300, and the 27-inch model is going for about $1,800. So, like I said, something if you're interested, if you're in the market for a new PC, one of those you might be interested in. But one of the things that was interesting talking about security news is the Tumblr worm that affected all those big blog sites. USA Today, The VIGS, The Verge, CNET. They had, 8,600 blogs that were affected. They cleaned it up since then, but, Tumblr's been such the center of attention lately. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing for them. In October, obviously, the site had that prolonged outage, and remember just recently Mark Cuban had made had brought them up in a conversation regarding his upsetness with Facebook. So it's curious to see them getting even more press. I don't know if it's going to help them or hurt them, but definitely been the product of some press. So one of the other things too is the interesting thing is that AT&T now just released the Galaxy S3, the update Jelly Bean for them. I actually went with the Galaxy S3 on Verizon's network, which will be releasing from the rumors, by the way, 14th of December. That's only a rumor, by the way. It's not been confirmed. But they released the new the new update for the Android 4.11 Jelly Bean, and Sprint was actually the first to do it. Like I said, they have not in October, but Verizon's looking to do it maybe this month, so we'll see what happens. But one of the things I thought that was interesting was anybody that follows my blog and noticed I posted a post, if you're interested, about security and stuff. Obviously, a lot of posts about security. It's a lot of what we do here, as well as at the Paint Technologies, as well as the the computer business. But one of the things that was neat was I posted a link for Keepass. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that product or not. What it is it's an open source product where you have a key on your you have a database on your local C drive and then a key file on your local C drive, and then what happens is when you're done, you put your databases, you put your username, your password, and you save it in this database on your machine. Then what you do is the database itself is password protected, but then there's this key that has to be sitting on your local C drive. So if you really want to protect your passwords, I know this is a big thing, especially people, they always ask what can they do to protect their passwords. You can take that key file and move it off to like a jump drive or something and only copy it back when you need to access your password file. It's keepass.info. It's an open source product. It's very, very good. It's good at keeping stuff safe, so I recommend that for everybody. And the other thing I've noticed too is there's another product out there. I just started using it. It only works on Windows. Is Personal Software Inspector. That's one I really like. You can find this all on the blog post. By the way, we had a blog post on December 4th with all this information in it. You're more than welcome to look it up. Again, allamericancomputerrepair.com/blog. Another one called Personal Software Inspector. What it does is just keeping your Windows updates up to date isn't enough. You need to keep your your Java, Flash, Adobe Acrobat, and all that up to date. And this does actually a really good job of that. It inspects your machine and keeps everything up to date. Keeps services running. It keeps .NET, all that stuff that Microsoft or any of the other vendors might not be. I don't want to say keeping up on, but don't prompt you to have to do the updates, and you don't have to do updates. A lot of people skip through them. Well, this actually do it for you. So this is a really good product. So anybody that's interested, you might want to go ahead and look into that. It'd be great for your home computer or even a customer with only one or two computers. That would definitely help them. One of the things too about Keepass is one of the things that I mentioned to a lot of people is a lot of people, they only have one password for everything. And that's a problem, especially when you're dealing with people, they have a password for their email, Facebook, Gmail, and then their banking. They're so concerned about keeping their bank information personal, but they don't realize that, if somebody gets your password, they can go in your email and then reset your bank password. A lot of people don't realize that, so that's something you should just be aware of, especially if you're dealing with people doing a lot of banking. They need to realize that. The other thing, too, is that I've noticed a lot recently is people going to open Wi-Fi and doing their banking and stuff like that right on the open wireless. If you want to use wireless at a coffee shop, you definitely should be using a VPN of some sort. But again, and the other thing too is using two-form authentication. I talked about that a lot this week in the blog. The only one I found that does it is actually Gmail. But it's really great because what you can do is you can actually, what two-factor authentication is, it's something you have, something the person is or something the person knows, and what you can actually do is actually kind of there's actually if you have the actual app, Google has a two-form factor app that actually goes in your iPhone, Android, or BlackBerry, and you can actually put that on there. And then what you could do is, when you go to log into your email, you get the passcode off your phone, and so you log in with not your password, then you have to give this key that's on your phone, and it gives you two-step authentication. So somebody, even if they steal your password, they can't get in because they don't have the code that's on your phone. So a lot of stuff like this has been used similar in big corporations for people doing remote work and their IT staff. But this is something kind of cool because your email, actually be protected with it. And like I've told people before, I get a lot of people with like AOL emails and stuff like that, and the biggest question always the banking. And like I tell people all the time, it would be very important for you just to create a Gmail account and do two-factor authentication. Even if you just use your Gmail for your banking and your buying online, that would definitely be very beneficial. So I tell people like that all the time. Make sure you keep that password especially safe. So. A lot of people don't realize that, but it's so important just to keep your your banking information and your buying online information secure, if nothing else. Have a separate email just for that. That's what a lot of people do. That's what I do. The other thing too is that a lot of people don't realize too is using a more secure browser like Chrome, a browser that's not built in to the actual OS like IE is or Safari is to the Apple. Using Chrome, Chrome's a very secure browser. If anybody read my Pwn to Own post, this was a while ago, but if you want to find it, it's up on the blog. Feel more than free to look on the blog, and it's on there. But it talks about the security of the OS and how since Chrome's not integrated into the particular, not built into your actual OS itself, it's much more secure. So that's something I definitely recommend. One of the other things too is I tell people all the time is Java. I don't have a post up right there, but I will tweet a link after. Is Java's there's a way of pulling Java so it's not as integrated into IE. On a Windows machine, it's quite difficult. There's registry keys and stuff you have to do, but there actually is places where you can actually do that. And definitely try to not use Java as much as you can. There's always problems with it. So again, I'm not a huge fan of Java, but try to if you don't need it, try not to have it. So the other thing too I wanted to mention as well in the podcast was the not that it's really anything major, but if anybody read the blog towards the beginning of this week, the PSY video Gangnam Style. The guys at 4chan had a little bit of fun with that, saying that when it hit over 1 billion views, the world was going to end, and that was going to be December 21st. I don't believe it, by the way. I just think it's funny, and they actually quoted a quote from Notre Dame, and which actually I found out later on after doing some discovery, it wasn't a Notre Dame quote, but they had really fun. A lot of people took it really seriously, and I thought it was kind of funny personally, but some people took it quite seriously. But again, it's on the blog site. If you're interested in reading it, go ahead. And the other thing too that I mentioned as well recently is in an earlier post is access control. Dealing with door locks and stuff like that. Not a lot of people I know of really take access control seriously enough. There are some electronic devices out there right now that only allow you access to a specific door at a certain time on a specific day. There are ones that you can send temporary keys. There's a lot of different access control devices. There's a whole post up on the blog about it. And if you're looking into or considering protecting your data center from physical security access, be a great post for everybody to read. There's so many different types of access control devices out there. I could sit here all day and just list them, but we're not going to do that because that would make things quite boring. But one thing to remember though, when dealing with access control, remember access control is defined as any mechanism used by to grant or revoke access to a physical security area. It's so important, especially key locks. Being as unreliable as they are, some of those is the key. You got to re-key the door or whatever like that. Not particularly, the greatest of ways to handle things, but you have no, obviously too with a regular door lock, you have no way as well of knowing who entered the door or not. There's no log or anything like that. What I would suggest is an access control, some type of electronic system. There's so many different types that you can use, but at least it's logging, and then you can restrict access, limit access, change access. If it's I know a lot of data centers have what they call man traps. What happens is you come into the data center and you're in the mechanical part, and then you go in the next door and you're in the actual data center itself. Anything like that. I mean, there's fingerprint swipe cards, access badges, biometrics, card readers. I mean, there's just so many different things you can do. Even at your home, they do sell products now, even that have apps for your iPhone that can allow you to get in and out of the door at home, send somebody's temporary key and stuff like that. It wouldn't hurt even at your home. The products aren't very expensive. I think they're like $150 for a lock, but it'd be, it might be something you might be interested in. But it's a very important, access control is a very important part of business and personal life when protecting your information. And it's relatively almost all access control systems are low cost nowadays. But like I said, I just wanted to just let everybody know about that. Access control. Everybody always thinks about the software end of it. SSH. Secure wireless and stuff. But the actual physical access things is something that's very important for everybody to remember, and to make sure that stays safe. It doesn't really once somebody gets physical access to a box, there's a lot more damage they can do. You know what I mean? So keeping them physically out of the room is a huge safety thing that a lot of companies don't take. They only think of the software end of it. They don't think of the actual preventing physical security, and I see that more and more in businesses. So it's very important. Just remember access control. Keep people if they don't need access to the room, keep them out. But there's a lot of companies nowadays that don't take access control seriously enough, and don't think about it because they're so worried about protecting from outside. They don't think about the people that can just get inside and do the damage. So, but again, I want to thank everybody for listening. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me, admin@allamericancomputerrepair.com, or you probably tweeting me would be better. You can tweet me, send me a tweet at @LapannyTech on Twitter, and as well as if you want to also talk to me, I'm on Skype at @LapannyTech as well. I want to thank everybody for listening, and like I said, we'll be trying to get at least one of these out a month, if not two. Like I said, Lapani Technologies, we are a security company. You can find us at lapanytechnologies.com. We handle, security and Microsoft Linux consulting, and we want to thank everybody for listening, and we hope you can use our services. And even if you aren't using our services, we would like you to. And even if you're not going to use us, you have somebody else, I would greatly encourage you to read our blog at allamericancomputerrepair.com/blog, and just to keep up on what's going on in the world of security and in the the world of technology, especially security. Security is such an important aspect, and it's greatly overlooked a lot of times, especially people think security is only for big businesses, but it's not. It's even for the home user. So I would encourage you to even follow our blog, even if you aren't using our services. Again, it's lapanytechnologies.com, and at Twitter at lapanytech. I want to thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll be hearing from us again soon. Thank you.